G'day golfers. Ever found yourself redirecting blame and making excuses after having an absolute shocker on a golf course? I know that I have. Range was closed, I was a little cold, didn't warm up, I hit it in those 3 old divots. Then we have the podcast for you. We focus on how to fundamentally own your swing. Strike it pure and consistently shoot in the 70s. Be it if you're a weekend hack, retired and playing daily, a school phenom or a tour professional. We present and discuss facts and physics pertaining to golf, trying to keep our ego and opinion at bay. We dispel myths such as keep your head down, bend your knees, or my all-time favourite, game improvement irons. So stop drinking that mythical Kool-Aid and have a sip of ours. I think you'll find it both inspiring and refreshing. I'm Scott Young, founder of Swing, PGA professional and ex-tour player. And together with physical therapist Dr. Sean Joyce, welcome to Pivot the Path. G'day golfers and good morning. SJ.
Good morning. Good day, golfers.
How are you? How's your weekend? How's your week
It's
looking?
been pretty good. I was a little sick over the weekend, so pretty chill. That's how it goes. Weather's changing around here.
Weather does change. Why does the change in temperature affect us so broadly? Especially kids. Our kids get hammered when there's a fluctuation of temperature.
Yeah, I think atmospheric pressure is a big part of it. But I normally get in the springtime, like when all the pollen kicks
hammered.
up. I get hit. This year it skipped me, but then in the fall I got it. So I don't know what's going on.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. All good though. It happens.
So Marie has the boss going well.
Doing good.
When are we getting her up here to golf? Dude?
That's a good question. You got to get her on the hook. I think
Got to get her on the hook.
She got a little taste. She'd get it. I've had her out with me a couple times on, playing 9 holes.
Yeah.
That sort of deal. And I don't think she quite has found the fun in it yet when. Yeah,
it's frustrating. She's competitive.
Yeah. So I think she almost doesn't want to get started because it will just begin this whole funnel into a big endeavor.
And sincere shout out to Hurricane Helene crew. That's such bad news. Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. The media go on a little bit about how poor old Augusta got hammered, but poor old Augusta with their gazillions in the bank will be just fine. Yeah. But it will change the golf course. But shout out to all those mum and pops who are struggling because the houses and the flooding in North Carolina, Asheville is unbelievable.
Pretty insane.
Tornado and up in the hills there, obviously not flooding, but shout out to everyone who's still struggling. We hope that you're safe and well and your family's safe and all your pets. Obviously the golf community is going to get absolutely destroyed. So I tell you, we obviously want to own a golf course down the line, but it's tough. Like an episode like that, I would have thought they can't get insurance for natural disasters on golf courses.
Yeah, an act of God sort of thing.
Yeah, so hopefully they all survive because, Augusta, everyone goes on about Augusta. I'm like, dude.
They've got the funds.
They got the funds to do it.
Yeah.
They can literally just pick up fir trees and ground them. But it's the small mum and pup golf course in the country that hopefully is going to survive.
Yeah.
And obviously everyone being safe.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and all the people there. So that's a bugger. I don't know. I'm a mad surfer, obviously beach goer, but living in Florida, it doesn't have it doesn't come without its issues.
Yeah, I think a lot of times of the year, especially so many people from New York go down to Florida during the winter time. It sounds awesome. It's warmer.
Yeah.
You can go play golf in the winter, but then there are a couple seasons that are a little bit dicey. Really hot at times, and then of course, hurricane season's a little bit scary.
Rosie grew up on a farm in Missouri that was basically in Tornado Alley. They had tornadoes every year, but scary. Pop, being such a diligent man, he made sure that the house that he bought was on top of one of the very few hills. So they were always fine, but many times we'd have to duck down the basement and the tornadoes and they're legit.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's
really scary.
We don't get tornadoes back in Australia. News from the fairways. We had an awesome weekend. I watched a fair bit of President's Cup, which we'll get to in a sec.
Was sweet.
DP Tour, young Spanish kid won his first DP event.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Ángel Hidalgo.
Yep.
He seems like a good dude.
Yeah, he's a cool guy, cool character.
Took down Mr. Rum.
Which is huge.
That was cool.
So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here.
They're talking him up. Quite a bit.
It looks like a little bit of a slingshot to his career here.
Yeah.
To see where he goes, but it might be more him to come in the future.
And a Spaniard beating arguably world number one Spaniard in the Spanish Open in Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome.
Yeah, really cool.
And the LPGA, the warm-up Thidapa Suwannapura, done well there.
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty early, 17 under.
Congrats to
she's
her.
obviously playing well. She's had a couple of wins and doing very well. One in a playoffs were key. And then the President's Cup. Did you watch the President's Cup?
Yeah, I caught a lot of Sunday.
Yeah, I watched Sunday.
It was awesome here because it's just rainy, drizzly weather, so it's great to sit and watch some of it. I thought it was pretty awesome.
What was your overall take?
So I think with the President's Cup, I think they've done it about 17 times, and the U.S. has won
the last
15
10
of them. So you really want to see it go kind of neck and neck all the way down to the end.
Yeah, which I think it did this year.
Pretty
I thought
well
it was phenomenal.
I don't know how many matches were left still going when it was clinched by Keegan Bradley. But
so Keegan won at about what? It was about 2:00 in the afternoon, and up until Keegan won, it was like 13.5 to 11.5, and it could have gone either way. And then the US just crushed it out, finishing 18.5 to 11.5.
Yep, but there were some great matches going on. I think
Tommy
throughout the
Kim.
week. There were a couple, Tom Kim, Siwoo Kim, both of them really had some awesome moments. Their match, the two of them with Patrick Cantley and Xander Schauffele was awesome. Yeah. I mean, there were chip-ins, huge birdie putts, a bunch of clutch plays. That's kind of what you hope to see. That's like a classic.
Yeah, so we
Cup
just wanted
right
to touch on this. I think the President's Cup, Ryder Cup is such an awesome format because it's very different. Match play. You see golfers play shots that they definitely wouldn't have played in a tournament where they're hedging at risk. If the pin's top right with water on the right, they're never going to go at that pin in a tournament. It's 20 feet left, 2-putt, get out of there. If you hold a 25 footer, that's awesome. Whereas match play, it's game on, go at everything.
Yeah, it's really cool. And there's some mind games to play, so it's a little bit more interesting than what we're used to seeing, or just different anyways, which is cool.
As an Aussie, I always find the American gallery how do we put this? Very intense. They're very proud community.
They are.
And so I found that as a golf lover, I just love watching it because it was the best in the world, apart from a couple of the Europeans. And it was just the best golfers in the world playing against one another, which is what we're screaming for, all of us.
Yeah, and it's cool to see those guys get a chance to go head to head. Like, for instance, Scotty Scheffler and Tom Kim are real good friends. Yeah. And and
Tommy
I think some
Kim,
of the warm-up,
he's awesome.
Yeah, and whatnot. They're still friends. They're chatting it up, and then once the competition was on, it was flip a switch, and we're not messing around anymore. So really, really cool to see.
And I'm not that violently aggressive, and these guys clearly are. Like there's no
reason why they're some of the best players in the world. They're competitive.
They are competitive,
and it really brings that out, which is really cool.
I'd love to put a ping pong. I'm a ping pong nut, as we've talked about. I'd love to put a ping pong table just with a little camera there, just to get a video of these guys. They must be competitive in everything.
I think so.
So that was brilliant. And Adam, shout out to Adam Scott. That guy at 40, what is he? 46, I believe. He is just ageless.
Yeah, just had some
good.
recent success on PGA Tour, of course. I mean, he doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So shout out to Scott. And just the way he handles himself, the whole product, if he is a product, is just insane.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm looking forward to, now we got Ryder Cup coming up.
Yeah, they certainly had the narrative to get Keegan. They certainly had a predisposition to get Keegan elevated in the public eye, which I think they did.
It worked out where it put him in a really good spot where he clinched, the victory for the U.S. team. And immediately he was talking about, all right, Ryder Cup, what are we doing? What's the plan? And it almost seemed a little staged. I totally agree with you. Totally staged, but that's fine. Yeah.
The Ryder Cup is going to be out in Bethpage in our backyard next year.
Yep.
It's going to light up New York City.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We were talking about the President's Cup the other day, and you brought something interesting up, which maybe me just being American, I hadn't thought, because we get it easy, where we get to play President's Cup and Ryder Cup just every single time. We have an international event every year. But the internationals and the Europeans never play against each other.
Yeah,
there's no
totally.
Matchup between those two, which would be pretty cool to see.
Greg Norman started the President's Cup 15, 16 years ago. And he just wanted the Australians, specifically, him and Elk, and Baker Finch to taste that competitiveness against the US.
Yeah.
And then it morphed into South African, Tony Els, and there's not a President's Cup or International v Europe.
Yeah, but it's cool to see. I think there's a lot of, especially for the younger players, some unbelievable experience they get in the President's Cup. Those under pressure situations, dealing with the adversity, and I think it's a lot of character building for them. They can take into PGA Tour the next year or wherever they play.
Actually, I heard some interesting goss on this week with one of our finance guys here who was in the back office of the Live deal. And they said that Live was initially started with the Asian Tour to get world ranking points. That was their backdoor of getting world ranking points, which I hadn't heard, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
So the Saudis were on board. Greg was obviously needed a pool of money to compete with the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize the Asian Tour was the backdoor into world ranking points, but ultimately didn't fell through. But that was interesting, and that's what got them in the door.
Okay.
But then the Asian Tour, something went down there, and it certainly didn't play out that way. But look, the sooner we get a merger, we just want to see, as the golf community, we just want to see the best go against each other.
Yeah, and so you definitely do think a little bit as you're watching the U.S. team, who would be there if they were taking some of the Live guys on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau and Cameron Smith.
Koepka,
Koepka. They're missing a lot of good players.
Yeah.
Big guns there.
Yeah.
So anyway, recap, President's Cup, loved it.
It's awesome.
Very good.
Really cool. So I'm even now more excited for Ryder Cup.
The Ryder Cup's going to be it's going to be intense.
So it'll be interesting to see who Keegan Bradley chooses. I know he spoke about he's going to have the best players regardless of where they play.
Is that right?
Ryder Cup team is what it sounded like. So we'll see what he chooses.
How did he word that? I'm going to have the best
similar
players.
To that. He said, "I'm going to have the
That's phenomenal.
The best players in the world from the U.S. on this team." So
I'm sure that behind the scenes they know a timeline of a merger. I'm sure they know where it's at, because don't forget the PGA Tour is all controlled by the sponsor dollars. So if the PGA Tour have a golf event sponsored by Swing, then that's already in the cards. They can't renege on that. So I would have thought that they know exactly where the merger will occur. They've just got to play out their sponsor events, because Walmart, for example, will put down their $6 million and they'll want their event.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So I wonder if the merger is closer than we think, but they have to play out the 2005 season because the sponsors have already been accepted, money in the bank, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe you are cutting edge of private eye, golf private eye.
We'll see. We'll find out.
And then circling back on young Dawson, who's back border patrolling. Thank you, mate. His foot is insurmountably better.
Okay.
He's back running, doing his exercises every day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's for anyone who didn't hear last week, we're helping Scotty's nephew out with just some foot issues going on, and we're talking just about kind of the lower leg, how his body was set up or the strategy it was using. And it's one of those things he's probably, he's mentioned having flat feet and this stuff going on for years probably, but very quickly things can change. So for people struggling with things, whether it's with your golf game or just getting through your life, being active, long-standing issues don't have to remain that way. They can change. So try and seek out some help.
Make sure they're screening you before they start training you. That is so important.
Yeah.
So we've got our group training starting in about 15 minutes, and we've got our SJ kicking our backside. What are we doing first session? You ease us into it, don't you?
Yeah. So
we've got a couple of newbies.
We've got the luxury of 8 weeks to build. So we're going to start out with kind of, the big important movements, but in a very simple way where it just start to move the right way, start using the right muscles, and then we just build and build from there. So add some complexity, adding load as time goes on, but we start kind of almost one joint at a time, one motion. As we go through the whole workout, you'll hit all the big things, some core stability, some thoracic mobility, a lot of hip stability, also some mobility going on. And then as the weeks go on, we tie together, multiple muscle groups working together, things that start looking a little bit more like the golf swing.
But you don't need to train like a golf motion to improve the golf mechanics.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you kind of, we spend a lot of time working on just improving the efficiency, strength, and dynamics of your two big centers of rotation, which is thoracic spine and rib cage. and then your hips as well. You get that stuff moving in the first place, and then starting to pair those two things together, or in a lot of cases, separating them. And then things start to fall into place when you're actually swinging a club.
Yeah, totally.
I've got a question for you, circling back to the President's Cup. You know, there's so many high pressure moments where there's so much more at stake for those guys. Like, you know, their whole team is depending on this point or whatever. So you didn't play in a President's Cup, but
didn't play a lot of match play, period.
Yeah, but in those moments, or maybe it's a tournament where you got a big putt to make, you know, or you stand on the scoreboard. Is there anything you went to make sure you could pull it out?
Pre-shot routine.
I had a feeling you were going to say
just
routine.
so. Guys, it doesn't matter whether it's a Saturday Nassau, if it's a match that you and I, actually, you're going away this weekend, we can't play, we got to get back on, it's been a couple of weeks, or it's with your mates, or it's with your wife or your husband. Golf is about a pre-shot routine, controlling the self-chatter to be in the moment of the shot. So people talk about in the zone. Getting in the zone is actually not that difficult when you can actually physically write down your pre-shot routines. As we've talked about them, you should have about 7 or 8 routines. It's just about routine. If you control the mind to perform a task, we call it a pre-shot routine, so that you occupy the mind so it cannot waver. Keegan's got that downhill putt to win the President's Cup rather. He's so caught up in his routine that the actual event is irrelevant. So
trying to make it less, you know, not bigger than just another putt.
It's just another putt.
Yeah, and if you can treat it that way, hopefully you make the thing.
Yeah, I mean, Andrea First was one of my first sports psychs, and I was probably not emotionally ready to receive the information that she was giving me, and I was young. I was 26 or thereabouts, and I'd only been playing golf full stop for 4 or 5 years, so I hadn't been playing very long on tour. And so I was kind of learning the skill and the habits, and no one was really, I was doing it all off my own kind of bat. So Andrea wanted me to practice and play golf tournaments on the range, and I probably wasn't ready to receive that information. So I disregarded it a little bit, and that was a big mistake. I should have done a lot more. I'm playing the back 9 at Augusta, and because I knew the course obviously, and I should have done a lot more mental work on the range.
Yeah.
Looking back.
Okay. Makes sense. Kind of simulating
the pressure.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
We do it in here, you know. SJ and I work on our skill once we've got the skill perfected. So for you, it's getting into that right glute, a little steeper. But now we've got to take that skill and put it into some routines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Routine.
It comes down to the same stuff. Pre-shot routine.
And then episode 52. We've been going 50 episodes.
It's wild to think about.
Yeah, I think we're working pretty hard to make sure we're consistent. We love doing this. And people obviously every day, every week, people come up, our members and our non-members. Oh, I heard about you and wanted to pop my head in. So 50th episode, I've got a dear mate who I haven't crossed paths with since I was on tour face-to-face, but we chat often. He's played on PGA Tour himself, played in US Opens, and a hell of a golfer. And I just cannot wait to have him on here. But he's kind of flipped into a different role in the golf community.
Yeah.
So he's in his current off-season, and we're going to have him on next week. Yeah. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be awesome, and hopefully get some inside info into what he's doing
in the
golf world.
Yeah, so we just like to come at golf from different angles. Look, beauty golfers, thanks for listening. And remember, you can absolutely own your swing with the work you put into it off the course. We're about to do group training.
Yep.
Get us fired up, and you can absolutely own your swing.
Yep. Have a great week. We'll be back with more next week.